Win a 21-piece bucket with KFC Malkins. Simply buy a Streetwise 2, write your name and contact number on the back of your till receipt, and put your receipt in the entry box provided in the store.
Good evening, Eswatini, and welcome to the 8 p.m. news broadcast brought to you by Eswatini TV. My name is Nondobego Ntsabgelogo. Let's take a look at tonight's headlines. The Minister of Health has visited 7 clinics in the Northern Hoho region. The new competitive power generation capacity procurement process will help the country to minimize buying electricity from the Republic of South Africa. The Ministry of Housing and Urban Development has stopped the demolishing of houses in Mangwaneni. The news. Minister for Health, Lizingosi, has visited 7 clinics in the Northern Hoho region where she was inspecting how they have been operating since the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic, as well as challenges they have encountered. According to the minister, this will help the ministry to make informed future plans to assist the clinics.
During her visit to the 7 clinics in the Northern Hoho, Minister Lizingosi was inspecting operational changes made by the clinics since the outbreak of COVID-19 as well as challenges they have encountered. Minister Nkosi says this would help for future plans to assist the clinics.
Lamuhla sibuka nje ama clinics angala ka Northern Hoho. Ngikwakhona ngibuka ukuthi ngwabona nje ama clinics sive ukuthi bibasebenta njani in the last few months kuna COVID ukuthi khona khona abahlangana nabo lesi interested kuko kakhulu kubuka ukuthi beba manage njani ku COVID babonile ama clients bese kwendekana.
Although in the 4 clinics where the minister started off in the morning, they have reported about teenage pregnancies, it seems as the numbers are not high.
Small clinic which is very busy. Sakhaza ukuthi nakhona konke kuhamba ngemva ngaphandle sibaswele sikhala sikuvayivile ke khona ngikho ukuthi bakhona abantwana ema-teen pregnancies labo babona ngathi inyukile kodwa hayi kakhulu nasisuka saya eNtonjeni nakhona base akhona ema-teen pregnancies but ababoni ethusa kakhulu kunale iminyaka kusho ukuthi into le lesibekeliso kuyo ngoba ikhona indzawo letiningi lapho sihambe khona kulamanye ama-clinics bengisemafutheni the other week.
According to the UN standard, patients should not walk a distance of more than 10 kilometers to the nearest clinic. In Eswatini, patients should not walk a distance of more than 8 kilometers to the nearest clinic. Minister Nkosi continued to the rest of the clinics, which is Hereford, Bulanzeni and Zingeni. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Pumapim Sweli.
Minister for Education, Lady Howard Mabuza, says she is happy that high schools still comply with the COVID-19 regulations set by government to curb the spread of COVID-19. The minister said this during a visit to the Lubombo region where she was inspecting schools following the reopening of Form 3s.
Following the reopening of Form 3s, the Minister of Education and Training, Lady Howard, visited several schools in the Lubombo region where she inspected schools for compliance to the COVID-19 regulations. The minister also inspected primary schools, in particular their preparations for the opening of grade 7 learners on the 1st of September 2020.
What we can say, our observation is that schools are ready, and they are ready to take on the Form 3s, they are ready to take on the grade 7s. It's just that the primary schools are still preparing. What we are discovering is that the high schools prepared when they were preparing for the Form 5s. So it's been much easier now. It wasn't really a hassle for them, for most schools. And they are well prepared, that is what we can say. We have observed in the classrooms there's enough distancing. The learners are having their masks. As I can see, there's a teacher over there. She's got her shield on, because that's important for learners to see when she talks to them, when she communicates with them. They need to see the lip movement so that they can hear what she has to deliver.
The minister says government has supplied schools with PPEs that are ready for collection at the Lubombo Regional Education Office. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Thembelihle Makuchwa with Themba Shabangu Mbolonjeni.
The new competitive power generation capacity procurement process will help the country to minimize buying electricity from the Republic of South Africa. This was said by the Minister of Natural Resources and Energy, Peter Bembe, during the virtual launch of the 40 megawatts bioplants tender held at Royal Villas in Eswatini.
Following the former Minister of Natural Resources and Energy's announcement on the 25th of July 2018, and in accordance with Section 25 of the Electricity Act of 2007 and Energy Policy on Competitive Tendering for Generation Capacity for Eswatini was launched. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy, guided by the country's energy plan, then issued a short-term generation expansion plan to accelerate the procurement of projects highlighted in the master plan. 2 projects were then identified, namely 40 megawatts solar photovoltaic and 40 megawatts biomass, also known as the first tranche procurement and second tranche procurement respectively. Eswatini Energy Regulatory Authority has started the second procurement of the second tranche projects totaling to 40 megawatts biomass plants.
The competitive procurement process is part of the implementation of our government's policy on increasing the country's energy resilience by reducing our reliance on imported energy and on encouraging the development of local electricity generation, and in particular, the development of local renewable energy projects.
Eswatini Energy Regulatory Authority's Chief Executive Officer Vusumuzi Mkhumane says interested developers and feedstock suppliers are therefore encouraged to participate in the competitive tendering process for the development of biomass power plants.
From the biomass standpoint, we believe it will add more, given that it's what we call baseload power, which means it's available 24/7. And if that is the case, it means we will be having an improved energy sufficiency contributing to energy security.
On the post-COVID-19 economic strategy recovery plan announced by the government a few weeks ago, 9 projects will be established in the power generation capacity and more than 750 eMaswati will be employed, while more than 3 billion eMalangeni will be invested. Reporting, I'm Zoto Andlameni with Muslim Konta, Ezulwini.
The Minister of Labour and Social Security and also Lamkapi Member of Parliament, Makosi Vilagati, has officially handed over a tractor funded by the Regional Development Fund to a company called Lamkapi in Progress under his constituency. The minister has urged the company to ensure that their business is sustainable to a point that they are able to purchase a tractor using their profits in future.
Lamkapi in Progress comprises of 14 members above the age of 50. They established their business in 2016 with only 16 members. They are a business that specializes on farming, crafting of bricks, blocks, and fencing. The minister, Makosi Vilagati, says this company has set a precedent amongst the youth to be encouraged and venture into farming or any other business.
50 years old, and they set a precedent amongst the youth to wake up and also create other companies that will benefit the youth in Eswatini. But today here, these community members here, they are a group of women and other important people in the area who had come together to form a company today through the Rural Development Fund.
Johnson Lamini, who was representing the chairperson of Lamkapi in Progress, says they have put much needed effort in their business since its inception because they are chasing after one goal, which is to be a sustainable business. He says now that they have been handed over the tractor and other farm inputs, they will ensure that they succeed. Mandla Mavuso, who spoke on behalf of Lamkapi Chiefdom, has applauded the work that the company does because he says it has played a role in the development of Lamkapi area. The guidelines of the Food and Agriculture of the UN states that sustainable food and agriculture have great potential to revitalize the rural community, deliver inclusive growth to countries, and drive positive change right across the 2030 agenda. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula with Mbongwa Dube at Lamkapi.
We will now look at the polio statement from the Ministry of Health. The Minister for Health, Lizingosi, says the country's best strategy to eradicate polio remains the polio vaccine, which protects children for life. In a statement issued by the ministry following the declaration by the World Health Organization that Africa is free of wild polio, the minister says Her Majesty the Indlovukazi launched the Kick Polio Out of Africa initiative in 1996, which marked the start of a successful milestone for Eswatini. Through the country's strategy to eradicate polio, the goal is to administer the polio vaccine to every child and ensure polio-free future generations. The last polio case in Eswatini was clinically confirmed in 1989. The Ministry of Health appointed the National Polio Eradication Committees, National Certification Committee, National Task for Laboratory Containment, and National Polio Expert Committee, and ensures their functionality. The minister says the National Polio Expert Committees have continued to monitor the country's progress towards polio eradication. As a result of the implementation of acute flaccid paralysis (AFP) surveillance system strategies, the country achieved polio certification standards in 2004, and the polio documentation report was accepted by the Africa Regional Certification Commission in 2005. She says all Eswatini children under 5 years are required to be immunized against polio at 6, 10, and 14 weeks, 18 months, and 5 years. And if a child fails to get vaccinated as per the scheduled dates, they can still be taken to a health facility for vaccination. It is imperative that health workers are vigilant in conducting acute flaccid paralysis (AFP) surveillance, and that the population is made aware of the importance of routine immunization and adherence to the national immunization schedule. The minister says it is encouraging to mention that the country's national polio immunization coverage has remained above 90% in the last 5 years. She says more than 95% of Africa's population has now been immunized, and this was one of the conditions that the Africa Regional Certification Commission set before declaring the continent free from wild polio. She concluded by reiterating that since there is no cure for polio, vaccination efforts will need to continue alongside surveillance to protect children from being paralyzed by the disease in the future. We will now continue with the news. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Housing and Development, Clifford Mamba, says Mangwaneni falls under the Mbabane Municipality Council jurisdiction. Mamba says the only place not falling under the council is the Royal Crawl. He said this when the ministry was appearing before the Public Accounts Committee.
When the Ministry of Housing and Development appeared before the Public Accounts Committee, the committee's Vice Chairperson Muzi Kunene asked the Ministry's Principal Secretary, Clifford Mamba, to explain the demolition of houses at Mangwaneni, which occurred last Friday. When explaining the incident, Mamba said the demolished houses fall under the council's jurisdiction. Therefore, for residents to construct structures, they need to get permission from the council. However, Mamba says this was not the case with the residents whose houses were demolished. He says the affected parties did not respect the fact that the matter was being dealt by other structures in the country.
Basekhathi edolobheni iorder noma ke indlela osetshenziswa edolobheni usike ungakakhi uyakhulekela edolobheni uthole imvumo yekwakha anywhere ku-urban area, be it Mbabane, be it Manzini, nalaba bekunene nabo bekumele ukuthi bathole etimvume ukuthi bakhe kuleti zala bakhakito. Lokwentekile nje khona kubuhlungu singasho njalo ngoba akumnanzi kubona ukuthi kwenteke lokwenteka kepha lo mthetho lo sigunyata ukuthi masipala asebenze nje basebenza usebenta wona basemthethweni umasipala usemthethweni kepha nje ke enjoba sisho nje kube sesokwentala lokwenteka kuyaveta ke noko usihlalo ngoba kuthi lenzaba kahle kahle beyisakhulunywa kuma structures lentawuthi ma traditional structures ilela khona besibheke ukuthi cha kutawuphuma lelo gama lelitayi hlatiya kahle hle una kusente kanjalo ke leswathi sakithi lesatiko sithi ke uyayophakamisa likhuba wena lenine lenthinthelako.
Mamba says the council followed stipulated laws in dealing with the issue. The PS says the council pleaded with the residents to stop constructions. However, the residents proceeded with building. Mamba pleaded with both affected parties to find a common ground on the matter. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, while additional visuals are sourced from Parliament.
On another note, the Principal Secretary at the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, Clifford Mamba, has urged the Municipal Council of Mbabane to stop the demolishing of allegedly illegally built houses at Mangwaneni and has appealed to residents not to construct or expand their houses. He said this at a press conference which was held at the ministry's offices.
The Principal Secretary, Clifford Mamba, says the gazetted boundaries dictate that Mangwaneni falls within the perimeters of Mbabane City, and the matter is being discussed by the traditional structures, and the ministry is awaiting further guidance on the conclusion of this matter.
The ministry is now awaiting further guidance on the conclusion of this matter. Thirdly, the ministry at this point appeals to both the residents and the Municipal Council of Mbabane to patiently wait for this matter to be concluded at the level I've just mentioned above. All concerned parties will thereafter be advised on a way forward on this matter.
The Municipal Council of Mbabane, in a press statement, responded to the ministry's request, saying council will stop the illegal demolition of structures at Mangwaneni pending the finalization of the matter. The statement says council welcomes the advice by the ministry that all residents of Mangwaneni must refrain from illegal construction. Reporting, I'm Lungelele Makakula with Mbongwa Dube in Mbabane.
Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Thulani Mkhaliphi, has launched and activated the Links for Vacancies and Job Seekers webpage, which is now available on the Eswatini Labour Market Information website. This online platform will be for job seekers to search for employment opportunities, while companies and employers will use it to publicize vacancies.
The webpage, Eswatini Labour Market Information, was launched by the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Makosi Vilagati, last year. On Wednesday, the vacancies and job seekers links have been added to the page. Through these links, businesses and companies will advertise vacancies, while job seekers will apply for jobs and put their CVs. The Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, Thulani Mkhaliphi, says next month the ministry will install the website in all constituencies in the country.
And encourage communities to walk into their Tingula centers and log into the system, mention the skills they have, and respond to specific job vacancies that they are interested in.
Ministry of Economic Planning and Development Director of Statistics Simon Zwane says the country's relaxed unemployment rate stands at 30%.
This 30%, I think in the majority of cases, you're finding the youth. So the youth are unable to get job opportunities, which might not be a good thing for a country. But I think we're pleased to note that the country is putting good programs post-COVID to address some of these issues so that the economy becomes vibrant again. And then if the economy is vibrant, issues of unemployment, I think, would be dealt with.
The implementation of the Eswatini Labour Market Information will help the country in collecting the exact figures on labor force survey and wages survey. For now, such reports are released after 30 months, which is a great delay when compared to other countries which release them yearly. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Ezulwini.
We will now take a look at the COVID-19 update from the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health would like to inform the public of the status of COVID-19 in Eswatini. A total of 320 results were received today, of which 60 tested positive. The total number of COVID-19 confirmed cases to date is 4,387. 2 deaths have been reported over the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of COVID-19 deaths to 88. According to the ministry, there are 1,161 active cases, 3,078 have recovered, 88 are deceased, and 60 have been registered for care. The reported deaths are a 29-year-old man from Shiselweni and a 47-year-old man from Menzini. The cumulative confirmed COVID-19 cases by region show that Menzini region has 1,974 cases, Hoho region has 1,744 cases, Shiselweni region has 359 cases, and Lubombo has 310 confirmed cases of COVID-19. We will continue with the news. The Eswatini National Council of Arts and Culture has launched a platform for artists in the country to showcase their work online. The council has designed an online TV and radio program called Eswatini Arts and TV and Eswatini Arts Radio. CEO Stanley Dlamini says he hopes this platform will be beneficial to all artists.
When the national partial lockdown was implemented, the Arts and Culture Council gathered with artists to share ideas on how artists in the country will present their art to their followers during this time of the coronavirus. The CEO, Stanley Dlamini, says after much deliberation and research, the council decided to design an online platform that artists can use to market their art.
Present our art to the people of Eswatini. We have of course designed 2 programs. One is a TV program which is called Eswatini TV Arts, and the second one is a Halala radio program for arts. So today we're launching those 2 platforms where we said our local artists should access the TV and they should access the radio as well, so that the people of this country know what is happening in the arts industry through the TV arts and also through the radio arts. To us, this is going to benefit us going forward in the sense that we will get to know what's happening in the country, but we will also know who is launching what, which festival is coming. So basically we are saying we want the Swazi people to have a page where they can access their celebrities, where they can access the profiles of our artists, and also events that are...
Mshikishi Mzebele, who spoke on behalf of the artists, says they welcome this idea and believe that it will help sell their work. He says since lockdown was implemented, they have not been able to make profits.
Artists ijabulela lokuthi ilonchwe namhla sikhulumile ukuthi sifunani nokuthi sakhe le bill sikhonile ukuthi sisho ukuthi sifakani ini nani.
The 2016 National Arts and Culture Strategic Plan has measures that the Council has to take, such as promotion and coordination, regulation and resource mobilization, to name but a few, and result expected through these measures is a well-regulated arts and culture industry. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula with Mbonga Dube in Manzini.
SwaziMed, in collaboration with Enactus Eswatini, has started a competition where tertiary institutions that normally compete in the Enactus competition are expected to come up with a name that will be officially used as a name for the new SwaziMed hospital that is under construction in Ezulwini. This is highlighted by the Marketing and Client Relations Manager at SwaziMed, Stelo Mkonda, during the official launch of the competition at Ngwane Teachers Training College.
As the hospital that got under construction last year, October, in Ezulwini is near completion, The Marketing and Client Relations Manager of Swazimed, Sicelo Mkhonda, says they have started a competition for its name in collaboration with Inectors. Mkhonda says they hope and believe that through the young minds who are competing, they will come up with an innovative name for the hospital.
We want Inectors to have people, newly and fresh minds, to name the hospital for Swazimed, so that you can have a name which reflects the future, the history, and also the meaning of the hospital, which will be accepted to members, to the service providers, actually the healthcare providers, and also the community at large.
The country director of Inectors, Wanda Khumalo, says they are happy that Swazimed chose them in helping them come up with the name for the hospital. Khumalo says they will use the same teams that were competing in the Inectors national competition last month.
But basically what will be happening is that the teams from here, they will go back to their own spaces. Teams will be required to be innovative and to be creative enough for them to interact with the nations or the people around them, including their teams. They'll be using, of course, part of what they'll be using some media platforms, which could be either social media or any platform that they would use in terms of engaging people to help them to come up with a name. And from there, the team will come together and then craft the final name, and which will be submitted to a team of judges that will look through, and then after submit the whole names to Swazimed for them to make a final selection of the name.
The construction of the hospital has made history as it is near completion in just under a year since construction started last year, October. The hospital is projected to begin operations in the first quarter of next year, and it is in line with the government's program for lifting the economy, which encourages that projects of this magnitude be undertaken by the private sector. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Sifiso Nxumalo with Smuva Shongwe, Ngwane Teachers Training College, Hlangano.
Let's take a look at our sports news. The Eswatini Athletics Association Secretary Toba Mazibuko says the national championships are significant because that is where the national team is selected to represent the country in international games like the Olympics, and that is why they make sure to host them every year.
The coronavirus outbreak forced many different sporting courts world over to be suspended. Even locally, the athletics competitions were greatly affected because they couldn't host any of their scheduled events for the year. This included the national champions that are usually hosted in March, which was around the same time the outbreak gained momentum, and it was increasingly likely that there would be no athletics competition this year. When the Eswatini government allowed sporting courts considered to be low risk in the transmitting of the virus, the return to the field of players, the Athletics Association quickly started with the preparation to host the competitions in October this year. Toba Mazibuko, who is the secretary of the association, says they had to host the competitions because they are significant in that's where the national team is selected.
The other importance of the national championships is that even though events were, I would say, postponed for the better part of this year, we have already confirmed dates for the Olympics, which will be next year, and as such we still need to go ahead with the preparations. And as part of the selection criteria is that any athletes representing the country must have gone through the national championships. The other, I would say, is a compliance issue. From our mother board, World Athletics, normally there's a grant that goes towards national championships. So we still have to account for that. So that's why we go ahead and have the national championships.
Mazibuko concluded by encouraging athletes to continue with their preparations, more especially because the next calendar year they will be going to the Olympics, and it will present a great opportunity to compete against the world's best. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports News, I am Patizwe Msibi with Lungalele Makakula, Manzini.
Eswatini, that is all the news we had for you tonight. Up next is the weather forecast. Good night and God bless.
At Spar, we're giving thousands of customers 50% off their shopping instantly.
Simply buy any participating product and swipe your Spar Rewards card at the till to enter. And you could get half your shopping for free. Plus, get great birthday deals like Bokoma Wheat Picks for just $39.99 and 2-litre liquid fruit for only $29.99. Spar, here for the savings, here for you.
Refresh your home with Bradlow's Spring Savings. Spoil yourself with our beautiful range of lounge suites and savings of up to 7,000. That's right, savings of up to 7,000. Hurry to your nearest Bradlow's store. Bradlow's, massive savings guaranteed.